Hello everyone, Squee here. Welcome to another edition of Thoughts Behind the Wheel. This is Monday, August 31st at 6:20 p.m. I am a little late today because, well, I can't complain. I spent most of my day at work writing creative, funny, silly posts for my company's Facebook account. Seriously, I'm still amazed that my boss is letting me be, well, me. I keep showing him, this is what I'm writing. I mean, for reals, this is what I'm writing. You want me to post this? Because it's pretty silly. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Anyway, so I had several questions that I'll try and get through. Let me try and get the quickest ones out of the way before I forget them all. Someone wanted to know if I was going to be Let's Playing more Assassin's Creed games like Unity or Syndicate. I don't know. You know, the simple truth is I'm burnt out on Assassin's Creed. Ezio's story is done. Ezio and Desmond's story is done, which, you know, I really liked Ezio, I really liked Desmond, and they're both done. So, you know, I think that's it. I think that's what it was. Ezio, his story is done and had a great ending. Desmond's story is done and had a crappy ending, but, you know, whatever. I mean, yeah, I've seen worse, at least. But, yeah, so, their stories were done, and I feel like that's kind of like the story's done. And I liked Assassin's Creed 4 mostly because it was Pirates of the Caribbean in a video game, and I loved that. I think I said this even when I played it. Assassin's Creed 4 almost didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game. It felt like a completely different game. I almost don't include it in Assassin's Creed because it was far more about being a pirate and doing piratey things than it ever was about being an assassin. So, I don't know. But, yeah, so I guess I kind of fell out of the series because the story that I was following was kind of done, and I haven't seen anything to draw me back into it yet. First of all, they're still using, for the most part, the same old engine, which, you know, gets old after a while. I don't mind if they use the same core concept, but you'd think they could change it up a bit. From what I've heard in Unity, other than the fact that you can have multiplayer, it's still pretty much the same game. I've also heard Unity is horribly glitchy. Absolutely horribly glitchy. If people were to tell me, because I haven't heard much from Unity, if people were to tell me, hey, they fixed the glitches, the story's amazing, it's fantastic, you should play it, then I'll check it out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think people seem to not think highly of Unity. And Syndicate, I mean, like I said, I just kind of fell out of the series, and I haven't seen anything yet to make me excited like the original series did. So I don't know if I'll play Assassin's Creed again or not. So that's that. Someone wanted to know what I thought of the Aliens movies and other movies from the 70s. Alien 1 was interesting but dated. By the time I saw it, I was an adult, and I liked the concept. I liked what they were trying to do, but the special effects were really dated, so it was hard for me to take it seriously. Back in the 70s, when they hadn't seen things like computer animation and all that stuff, I'm sure it was really good. And I like the theme of the movie. The theme of the movie was great. The acting was great. So I think if I had seen this back in the 70s, if I had been born back then, I probably would have liked it a lot better. But it was just too hokey because of the time. You guys got to think. You got to realize that George Lucas was a visionary, and the fact that Star Wars came out in the 70s and had that kind of special effects was legendary. Legendary. No one had been able to make a movie like that, and it was so good that even if you were to watch the original Star Wars today, none of the edited, none of the special editions, it would still hold up. You'd still say those are pretty decent special effects. So, I'm sorry, I kind of got off the point there. My point was that most movies back in the 70s did not have that quality, and if you watch it today, it kind of takes you out of it. Loved Aliens 2. Aliens 2 was a really good, well-done action flick. I liked it a lot. Hated Aliens 3. Aliens 3 just had so many problems, not the least of which, if you're making a sequel and you're not upping the stakes, you got to up the stakes somehow. You've got to up the stakes somehow. If it's not action, which it doesn't have to be, then it should be character. In other words, Aliens 2 had an army of aliens and Marines fighting desperately and shooting them down with machine guns and killing them in droves, and you took on a queen, and oh my gosh, it's so epic. And then Aliens 3, there's one alien that was born out of a dog, and you're running from it again, and you're like, I mean, last movie we were taking out tons of these guys, now we're fighting one, you know, doesn't really seem epic like the other one did. Not that in and of itself is a mistake. You could have gone back to just one alien, but if you did that, you had to up the stakes another way. Wow, there's a van pulling in front of me, is smoking pretty hardcore. Oh, okay, I think he just stepped on the brakes really hard, so his tires were smoking. Good times. No, but if you were gonna drop the aliens back down to one and make this not an action flick, then you really have to up the game in, say, character development or the horror factor or something. You have to up the game in something so that you don't go from Aliens 2 to Aliens 3 and do what I did, which was like, you know? But other 70s movies? There's tons that I like, I'm sure. I just have to think of them. I can't think of many 70s movies, obviously the Star Wars. Was Ice Pirates in the 70s? I really like that one. Monty Python movies were in the 70s, loved them. Waterloo, that was the 1970s. God, I love Waterloo. So yeah, there's lots of movies that were done in the 70s that I like. But anyway, what was another one? What was my favorite video game companion? Tally, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to choose. There's a lot of them, but Tally, I guess. Drizzt or Inturi? Drizzt, of course. Inturi is a despicable a-hole. I know a lot of people like to identify him with it because he's the anti-hero and he's cool and he's hip and he's an assassin and he murdered innocent people and lost no sleep over it. And yeah, Drizzt every day of the week. He's a horrible Inturi is a horrible human being. You can like him because he's cool and badass and wears a trench coat or whatever, but I'm not falling for it. What else was there? I'm trying to think of fast ones that I can answer quickly. Someone asked what I thought of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movies, the TV shows, the one-shots, etc. I loved them. I think they did an amazing job. Some people don't like them. I don't know why. I think that they were incredibly ambitious. No one else has ever tried to connect so many movies together and make them into one large storyline. And I think they did a great job. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, they all have their own stories, but they all feel like they fit. They all feel like they fit really well. And when you got to Avengers, it just fits so perfectly. Avengers 2 didn't have the same effect on me. I mean, you saw my review for it. I loved the movie. The movie was really good, but it didn't have the same feel that the first Avengers had for me. I didn't go watch it 3 times. I've only seen it the once. But I thought it was a good movie. As far as TV shows, I've seen the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I really liked it. I haven't seen season 2 yet, but it's on my list of things to do. I'm sure it, from what I've heard, it gets even better. I haven't seen Agent Carter. I've seen Daredevil. Oh God, I love Daredevil. That was such a cool series. I really hope they make a season 2. So yeah, overall, I really like what they're doing. I think that 20th Century Fox needs to take notes from them because I saw Fantastic Four. You know, I saw Fantastic Four and I didn't think it was as bad as everyone else did. I definitely didn't think it was good. You know, I didn't think it was fantastic, like the namesake, but I didn't think it deserved, like, what, the 4.6 out of 100 it got on Rotten Tomatoes, something like that. I got a horrible rating. I don't think it was that bad. I don't think it was good per se, but I like what they did with it. I like where they went. I like that they took the time to tell a story and not just have tons of action. In fact, I'll tell you this, I actually really enjoyed the movie up until the final act when they started having all the action. Not really enjoyed. I wouldn't say really. Let's take the really out there. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I'm one of those people that I don't mind if a movie takes things slow and concentrates on the characters as long as they do a good job of it. And the actors acted fine, and the character interactions were good. The story was decent. I didn't mind it at all. It was, I guess, when you got to the climax and you're like, first of all, that's it? That's the climax? That's it? What? What? I mean, there was like no tension to it. There was no action really. It was just like, it was done. And you're like, okay. All right. I don't know. I guess my point with that was I didn't think it was horrible, like everyone says. I just think it was disappointing. Oh no, my original point was 20th Century Fox needs to take lessons from how Marvel's doing it. I think 20th Century Fox is doing a great job with X-Men. The past two movies, First Class and Future Past or whatever it was, were excellent movies. I love those movies. I really like where they're going with it. I'm really excited to see Apocalypse. But Spider-Man, I was never happy with their Spider-Man movies. I never really liked the Tobey Maguire movies. I kind of liked them when they first came out, but I was younger back then. When I watch them now, they're just so campy and hokey and ugh. I don't think that's necessarily their fault. The first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man came out back when superhero movies were campy and hokey. That's just what they were. Spider-Man 2 was okay. It was better, but it still had the campy, hokey. And then let's just not talk about Spider-Man 3. Let's not. The Andrew Griffin, is that his name? Andrew Griffin. Those Spider-Mans. Oh boy, I'm so mixed on those. They really weren't what I was hoping for in Spider-Man movies. The first movie, I don't think got Spider-Man down right. Spider-Man's a jokester. He's a prankster. It's his defense mechanism. The more serious the fight gets, the more jokes Spider-Man tells. That's how he copes with the stress. And it's a method of distracting the enemies. He wins a lot of his fights by pissing his enemies off through taunting and causing them to make a mistake. But in the first movie, Spider-Man got serious anytime the fight got serious, and that's not Spider-Man. The thing I loved about the Spider-Man comics is that if the fight was serious and Spider-Man got serious, you knew it was really serious. If Spider-Man's not telling jokes, something's wrong. It's really bad. You, like, hurt Mary Jane or something. I mean, you really, really pissed him off, and that was a rare thing to see. This movie, it was pretty much every fight he was just serious. I'm like, they just didn't capture the feel. I think the second one captured the feel better. He was more Spider-Man-y when he was in fights, but I don't know. The story just didn't really do it for me, I guess. Meh. Electro, Green Goblin. Anyway, I'm so glad that Spider-Man is back to Marvel now. I can't wait to see what Marvel does with them, because Marvel seems to know how to handle their superheroes. I mean, I know a lot of people may not like the Marvel movies, but even a lot of the people who don't like them, I've heard agree that, I didn't like the Captain America movies, but yes, they got Captain America down. Yes, they nailed Steve Rogers. Yeah, I may not like Iron Man, but holy crap, did they get Tony Stark right. So, Thor movies were boring, but yes, that was Thor. So whether it was the casting, part of it's casting, part of it's the actors, part of it's, the whole sum is greater than its parts. But yeah, no one can argue that, or no, a lot of people can argue, but a lot of people don't argue that Marvel knows how to portray their characters. So I'm excited to see what they do with Spider-Man. I'm interested in the Deadpool movie. Oh, that's going to be so much fun. Yeah, so that's that. And the other question that I remember was one from the past video that was brought up again. And it's kind of a more in-depth question, which is, why do you think we as humans, as society, tend to idolize and revelize and enjoy things like pirates, who were actually very vicious and brutal people? Or I forget the other examples he used, but I'll say like Alexander the Great or Julius Caesar, who were actually very, very brutal people. But we idolize them. We love to cheer them on, and you know, pirates. Pirates is a perfect example. We talk about pirates like they're a cool thing. They're hip. They're great. Oh my God, pirates back in that time period were horrible murderers. And why do we idolize them? Why do we see them almost as good guys? And I think that's a very complex issue. Now, before I start this, let me state that I am sure that there have been studies done on this that are far better than anything I could ever come up with, and I have not read any of them. So I could be completely off the mark here. I could totally be off the mark. I don't know. I'm just giving you my thoughts, my first impressions when I think about this question. And I think it's complex. I think part of it is that those men were free. They were the rulers of their own destiny. They were the masters of their own fate. And part of us enjoys that. Part of us likes that. Part of us finds that appealing. You know, a lot of us are in the 9-to-5 grind. Either we're still young and we go to school and we don't have a choice in it. We do what our parents tell us to do, and we go to school because we're told to go to school. And we know that, you know, we know that this is for the best and we shouldn't rock the boat. But sometimes we just wish... Uh-oh. Hey, everyone. Sorry, I had to stop recording because I got a call and then I got home. So this is actually the next day. This is the September 1st. The 1st of September. And I'm throwing this all as one Thoughts Behind the Wheel because, you know, I interrupted, or was interrupted prematurely. So, yeah, so this is like halfway through or whatnot. Where was I? I was dealing with why we romanticize pirates, I think. Yes, that's what I was doing. Oh, hang on a sec. I'm going to I'm gonna pull over somewhere and see where I can get some milk tea, because I want some milk tea. I've had a bit of a bad morning, so I need a pick-me-up, and that's my pick-me-up. Well, no. Peach tea is my pick-me-up, but people don't sell peach tea. It's crazy. Like, people just, they don't, you can't go somewhere and grab peach tea. I mean, sure, you can buy the bottled kind, but come on, that's, actually, that wouldn't be too bad. Nope, sticking to my guns. So, yeah, I had to block someone today, which I really hate doing. I'm a bit of a stickler for, hang on a second. Boba tea. I'm using my internets like a smart person. Yay. Pot stickers and boba tea. Where's that? Preston Road. That's nowhere near me. That's like an hour away. Phone. What? Phone, are you BSing me? Are you? What? Methinks my phone doesn't know what it's talking about. Oh, I don't know what my zip code is here. Like where I am. Oh, well, I'll just do something I know that's close by. So, yeah. Oh God, brilliant start to this. I know. But, so, yeah, I had to block someone today. I'm a stickler for free speech. I believe that people have a right to express their opinion, even if they're a dick about it most of the time. So, I don't like blocking people. Wow. There's, like, nothing near me. Like, for really reals. There is nothing near me. All right. Fine. I'm going to my favorite spot. It's like 10 minutes out of the way, but I don't gives no Fs. I know what I want. I want milk tea. Wow, this is such a weird start to this. Or middle, I guess, from what you guys are listening to. What was that? Yeah. So I don't believe in blocking people just because they disagree with me. Or they criticize my work or things like that. And for those of you who have watched me for a long time, you know that blocking is a very rare occurrence for me. However, I do it sometimes, and I hate when I have to do it. But this particular example was a gentleman who watches our riffs videos and leaves like an essay of everything we've done wrong on like every single episode. And that in and of itself is not the biggest problem. I mean, it's criticism. You know, not everyone agrees with how we do things. He's a rules lawyer, and he knows the books really well, and you know, he points out all the things that he thinks we did wrong. But you know, and we can argue back and forth about, no, it's not wrong, it's just different. I don't care that in the books it says that, you know, crazies do this. This is our game, and this is our world, and we're changing it to fit our story. And that's not wrong, it's just different. Or I don't care that we do combat differently than you do. That's not our problem or your problem. And yeah, so we make mistakes and all that stuff, and that's fine. But I will say, when he does it for like 90 episodes straight and just leaves a very condescending response on each video. That's the thing too. It's not respectful. It's not why did you do this, or hey, did you know about that? It's you're wrong, sit down and let me tell you why. And after like 90 videos, you know, that started to eat on some of the group members, and myself included. But, you know, because criticism's one thing, but nitpicking and pointing out every single fault and mistake that a person makes in a very condescending way, that's something different. But even that would not be enough for me to block someone. I hate it, I don't like it, but I accept and understand people's right to do it. However, once you start personally insulting people, that's kind of where I draw the line. Once you can criticize my ideas or my actions, or the ideas or actions of others, and that's acceptable, I suppose. But once you start criticizing them as a person, I can't really go with that. So basically, I was trying to be very nice, because, you know, after 90 episodes, this was grating on our group, and we were like, dude, this guy, oh my god. And so I sent him some very, what I thought were polite comments of, look, you obviously, you've watched 90 of our videos, so you have to like it in some way, and I appreciate that, but your comments are excessive and condescending, and it's basically, it's hurtful. Would you please stop or tone it down? You know, I don't mind if you point out big things that you think are big mistakes, but you don't need to nitpick everything every episode. It's really starting to rain on our parade. We do this for fun, and it's bothering us. Would you please stop? And the response I got was like, tough. And basically, just tough luck. Deal with it. And I was like, look, again, I'm asking you, please, this is really a problem. Could you stop? And again, I got, not only did I get like tough, deal with it, but I got kind of a, if you take any pride whatsoever in your videos, you should shut up and let me tell you how to play. It wasn't exactly what he said. I believe exactly what he said was, if you take any pride in your videos, you should be fine with people criticizing you and correcting you and telling you the right way to do things. Which really is, if you have any pride in your videos, shut up and let me tell you what to do. At least that's how I took it, and how I think 90% of the world would take it. And again, one last time, I was like, one last time, look, please, this is a problem. I want to believe that you're a decent person. I want to believe that your criticisms are coming from a nice place. You want to help, but this is not helping. So please, stop. And again, I got the tough deal with it. And you don't care about your viewers because you don't answer everyone's comments. It's true. I don't get to answer a lot of people's comments, and I even tried to explain myself. I said, look, I get dozens of comments a day, and dozens. That's a lot. It's at least 24. I usually get upwards from 50 to 60 comments a day, and I just don't have time. I have a full-time job, and I have a girl and everything. I don't have time to sit down and read everyone's comments. But yeah, so apparently because I don't answer everyone's comments, I don't care about my viewers, and he started trying to tell me how I should run my YouTube channel, and that was about it. Because now you're not criticizing how we play Rifts, you're criticizing my group and myself by saying that we don't have any pride in our work and I don't care about you guys. And I was like, yeah, no. I said, I've asked you several times, you don't seem to care, so here's my final response. Have a good day, sir. And I hate doing that, guys. I really do. It bums me out big time. And I don't get me wrong, I'm not looking for, let me be very clear. I'm not looking for pity. I'm not looking for people to say, no, Squee, you did the right thing or anything like that. I'm doing this, I'm telling you about this because blocking people for me is such a big deal that I want to be completely open. When I have to do it, I want to be open about it, and I want to explain why I did it, and I want to be completely open about such things. I hate blocking. I think blocking is a last resort. And I cannot abide people who block comments just to avoid having to deal with criticism. Now, there are people who block comments, like block commenters who are rude and aggressive, and that's fine. But I don't ever want to be lumped with someone who censors their comments so that they don't have to deal with an opposing view. And a lot of people do that. No one I know, thankfully. No one that I'm friends with, because we probably wouldn't be friends if that was the case. But, so, yeah, the reason why I'm saying this is because, like I said, I don't like doing it, and when I do it, I want to be open about why I did it. I don't apologize for it. I think it was the right call, but man, it bums me out because I hate doing it. I don't understand. I know, like, I get criticized for this a lot. I'm an optimistic person. I have a very optimistic view. I like to believe in the common decency of everyone. I like to believe that any random person I come across is a decent person and has empathy for others. I like to believe that. Every once in a while I get burned, but you know what? And this is a perfect example of, that I'm sure a lot of people are like, wow, Squee, you're being way too nice, like this guy is an ass, or whatever. Even if you want to say this is an example of me getting burned by being too, I don't know what you want to call it, nice or optimistic or whatnot. Like, I basically wanted to believe that if I went to this guy and said, look, I get it, I get what you're trying to do, it's not helping, it's hurting, please stop, that they would say, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it, sure, I will stop. I wanted to believe that. Now that happened? No, that's not what happened at all. But you'd be surprised that the majority of the time I have to do that, it does happen. It does work. So you could use this as an example of why I shouldn't think that way. But the truth of the matter is, in my experience, most people do get it, and most people do respond positively. It's the rare instance where I get someone who is just, their ego is astounding. And this guy's ego was phenomenally huge. He doesn't even have a YouTube account, but he wanted to tell me how to run my channel. Anyway, so I've spent way too long on this. I don't I don't need sympathy or anything like that, because it's not. I don't feel I did anything wrong, or that I was in the wrong, or anything like that. I am simply saying this because I feel that when such things happen, I should be completely open as to why it happened. So yeah, and that's why I'm getting milk tea, because it bums me out when I have to do such things. So what were we talking about? Pirates! Pirates! We were talking about pirates. Why are pirates idolized? And people like Jesse the Kid, Billy the Kid, and Jesse James. And we glorify these people and almost treat them like good guys. And the question is, why do we do that? And I'm sure there's a lot of psychiatric studies on it. And actually, I'd be kind of interested in seeing them to see what why the psychiatrists think we do it. But here's my take on it. And I started this yesterday. I don't remember what I said yesterday, so I'll just kind of recap. On a certain aspect, these guys are freedom lovers. Pirates were autonomous. They loved and cherished their freedom to do what they wanted and to not be held down by, quote unquote, the man. And Jesse James and Billy the Kid were the same way. They were about freedom. There's a certain... Well, let's put it this way. When you grow up in most modern first world countries, freedom is a diatribe you hear from a very early age. Freedom is important. Freedom is worth fighting for. Freedom is a noble idea worth doing anything for. Don't let people take away your freedom. It's precious. And when you grow up listening to that, and you should, it's a good thing to have. I tend to agree with it. It kind of bleeds over into other things. The problem, if you want to say there's a problem, with the way we're kind of taught about freedom is that it's not discerning freedom. It's not specific freedom. It's just freedom. And I think a lot of us are conditioned to when we hear about freedom and the freedom to do what you want and to not be oppressed, we get the warm fuzzies. And when you look at people like the Pirates or Jesse James or Billy the Kid or whatnot, there is this sense of freedom. They were doing what they wanted to do, and they weren't letting anyone tell them what to do, and they were fighting for their right, quote unquote, to be free. And there's a nobility to that in us, because we spend our entire lives being told how important it is, how important our freedoms are. So when we hear about someone like Pirates being all about freedom, yar, we think there's a bit of nobility to it. Hang on, I'm going to pause real quick because I actually have to go inside. This isn't like a drive-through. So, actually, no, you guys said you wanted me to keep going. Fine, but I'm not going to talk a lot. Just so you know, I'm going to talk to myself in the middle of a Bulba House store. Too much. I won't talk too much. Okay, I'll talk a little bit maybe. So, yeah. Hang on. Oh, alright, I have to get some sort of snack cake or something. Because they have to pay $5. Or you can't use your credit card. Well, it's a good thing I'm in a Korean bakery then, isn't it? Oh. Decisions. What do you guys think I should get? I'm gonna get a strawberry roll cake. Sure. Why not? Ooh, I should get something for Hikkyun. Oh, excuse me. What does she like? Do they have anything she likes? Well, they gotta have something she likes. What shall I get her? Huh. Wow. Not a great selection, I would say. Alright, I'll just get her one of these things. Sure. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about.
I'll just keep this one. Okay. Oh, actually, thanks. 안녕하세요. One large milk tea.
One large milk tea.
Yes, please. No boba and light ice.
No boba. Okay, one large milk tea, large with no boba.
네.
And then, okay, 768.
감사합니다.
You speak Korean well?
아니에요. 감사합니다. So now I just wait for milk tea. Huh. They're playing, what, How to Train Your Dragon? 1 or 2. I don't remember. I don't know why you would care. Oh, so where was I anyway? 감사합니다. 안녕히 계세요. Pirates, freedom, stuff. That's good. That is good. That was worth the trip. Pirates, freedom, things. Yeah, so I think that when you look at the people who stand for some sense of freedom, we tend to romanticize it. Because you notice we don't romanticize Stalin. You know, we don't romanticize a lot of dictators like that. There are some that we romanticize, but I'll get to them in a second. But I think that's the big thing, is that pirates had this idea that we kind of think is a noble idea of being your own man and doing your own, or woman, because there were female pirates, and doing what you wanted to do and not letting anyone tell you what to do, and you know, it's understandable. But yeah, the truth of the matter is there was nothing noble about most pirates. There was nothing to glamorize, glamorous about most pirates. And this is coming from someone who's absolutely fascinated by pirates. I am fascinated by pirates, not because, excuse me, and I mean Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, the golden age of piracy, the privateers and buccaneers and golden age pirates, and they fascinate me because it's such a unique time in history, and there's such a unique culture that it's fascinating to study them and to learn about them, and how successful they were. I mean, they ran the seas for years. But I don't glamorize them, nor do I idolize them in any way, shape, or form, because there is nothing to idolize. Most of them were horrible, despicable people who had no qualms murdering for a little bit of gold. And that's a horrible, horrible thing. So, but yeah, I think that's a big part of it, is that people like them embody ultimate freedom, and in a certain sense, we find that noble, whether we want to or not, because we've been raised to think that freedom is a good thing and something to aspire to. I mean, just look at how many angry teenagers that say, "Man, I wish the government went down. It was anarchy. That'd be great." You know, obviously it would be horrible. No matter how many of you want to complain about our government, it is the reason why you can
enjoy all the luxuries you enjoy. And yes, you enjoy luxuries. Every single one of you that is listening to this right now, well, I'll say most of you, I'm almost willing to bet every single one of you lives better than kings did in medieval times. Better than kings. So, yeah. And that's because of our governments. Haha! I know, it sucks because you're supposed to hate the man and tear him down, and yeah, it's full of corrupt and stupid politicians and et cetera, but without the government, you would not enjoy the life you do today. But anyway, my point is, yeah, there's a sense of freedom there that we idolize, I think. Now, then you have people like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar. Why do we idolize them? Even Genghis Khan to a certain extent, not as much, but the big ones. Hannibal Barca. Alexander the Great's the big one, but Julius Caesar's another one. Why do we idolize them? Why do we treat them as mythical heroes? Because they were not good people. Alexander the Great? Jeez. I mean, he brought war to the entire known world. He is responsible for the deaths of many people. He didn't conquer because he had to, because his land depended on it. He conquered because he could, and he liked it, and he wanted to be great. And he made his name over the tops of thousands upon thousands of corpses. Not to mention, he was a very brutal man. He stabbed his best friend in the chest because he didn't like something he said. Like, seriously, his best friend, BFF, Toad's BFF, stabbed him in the chest, killed him one night at dinner because he didn't like what he said. That's not the kind of guy you have babysitting your kids, all right? Not the kind of guy you idolize, but we idolize him. Why? Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was a political, power-hungry opportunist who had no qualms whatsoever killing those that he felt he needed to. Now, he slaughtered tons of Gauls too, yes. And yeah, you certainly not idolize that. And I'll say this about Alexander the Great too. Well, no, not Alexander, because man, Alexander was crazy about his conquest. But the Romans didn't see the Gauls as people per se. They saw them as a menace that needed to be quelled. So I could understand a person thinking they are in the moral right by fighting and killing Gauls. Now, I'm not saying they are or were in the moral right, but I could see them believing that they were acting justly and morally. And that could at least be respected. I don't know if that's what Julius Caesar thought. I was going to say maybe the same for Alexander, but that's delusion on a whole nother scale. He knew what he was doing. The Persians weren't a menace to Macedonia. Let's just put it that way. Not the same way a lot of the Gauls were to Rome. So, or at least that's how they viewed them. So why do we idolize people like Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great? And I think it's for one big reason that has a lot of spin-offs from it. Like, it's a complex issue, but a complex issue that stems from one big reason. They were successful. They were incredibly successful. And this is important for several factors. One, they were geniuses. Alexander the Great was a brutal man, sure, but he was a military genius. He was far and away one of the brightest military minds that ever existed. And as a testament to that, Alexander the Great, is the bar at which every other military genius compared themselves to. Julius Caesar, Augustus, Napoleon Bonaparte compared himself, tried to live up to Alexander the Great's level. You study his battles and what happened, and holy cow, Alexander was far head and shoulders above his competition when it came to military strategy. He was a genius, he was incredibly successful, and he was incredibly audacious and brave. Alexander led from the front. He was wounded multiple times. He was certainly a charismatic leader, and he was incredibly successful. So you have that. You have, we idolize him in the sense that we study him. We study his example. We look at what he did and go, wow, that's really damn impressive. And the other issue of that, the other side of that spectrum, is he was successful, which means that the historians that wrote his history were the ones that won. And they spoke well of him. They idolized him. They glorified him. They made him epic instead of a villain. And that carries over to today. We read the same stories written in that tone and can't help but be swayed by that to a certain extent. So we romanticize Alexander the Great because the historians of the time romanticized him because they were part of his camp and they wanted to romanticize him. So you never hear about the great exploits of Darius III. I'm not sure if Darius III actually had any great exploits, but let's just put that aside. Okay. You don't hear about the losing side. So you don't hear how the Persian Empire, almost no one hears about how the Persian Empire, Xerxes and his ancestors quelled a nation that's as big as the United States is today, which is huge at that time. Why? Because they didn't win in the end. They weren't the ones that wrote the history. You don't hear about how ingenious Carthaginian soldiers were in the First Punic War. Why? Because Rome won the First Punic War. So that's a big part of it. They were so successful, so they were romanticized, and they were geniuses. Even Hannibal Barca, because you're like, yes, but Carthage lost the Second Punic War. Yes, but Hannibal didn't lose the Second Punic War. Hannibal was immensely successful in his campaign against Rome. He kicked Rome's ass again and again and again and again, and it took Scipio Africanus learning an entire new way of fighting based off of Hannibal to beat him. So, what he did was so incredibly impressive that even historians, he's kind of the rare exception. Even Roman historians looked at what he did and said, that was damn impressive. Now, he's a monster. He was a horrible monster, but damned if he wasn't an impressive monster. But yeah, so I think that's part of the reason why we romanticize them and glorify them is because they won. Their historians wrote the history. If Stalin's regime, and actually, and it's important to say too, and you're like, well, what about people like Stalin or Mao Zedong? We don't romanticize them, and they had amazing success. Yes, but they came at a period of time where the world was far more connected, where everyone has historians now. Back in the time of Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar, most of the world didn't have historians or people that cared or wrote about history. The Greeks and the Romans were about it. The Persians a little bit, but that was it. That was pretty much all there was. Now, every country has their historians, and every country has their political analysts, and every country can bring their own point of view to the overall narrative. If Mao Zedong was the only one who had historians in his camp, we might have a very different view of him today. Same thing for Stalin, but we don't, thankfully. We have a much more objective picture. I don't want to call it objective. It's pretty subjective, but you know what I mean. We have a much larger view of what they did, and thus we have a much less romanticized view of why they did it. So yeah. What else? Actually, building on top of that, defeat is also a great... things can swing the other direction, too. They really can. Look at General Custer. The American Civil War. Well, actually, no, American Civil War. Actually, oh God, I forget. He was part of the American Civil War? I think he was. I'm almost positive he was part of the American Civil War. I'm losing my my American history now. Good for you, Squee. General Custer, we've all heard his name. And we all treat him as a bit of a joke. Most people think, oh, General Custer, he's the idiot that got all his men slaughtered at Wounded Knee because he was an arrogant prick. And you know, if I were to go up and interview 100 people today and say, hey, was General Custer a good general? Was he a smart general? I would guarantee most of them would say, no, I mean, he was an idiot. And you'd say, why? And they're like, oh, well, you know, Wounded Knee. He got all his men slaughtered because he was egotistical and took like a few hundred men, if that. I don't remember how much it was exactly, to fight like 2,000 Indians. And that's dumb. And that's all they know. And that's all they think. And that's all they care about. Because he lost. Because he was defeated. And that's what history remembers. Now, before I go into this next bit, I want to preference this by saying I think Custer was a despicable man. I think his method of generalship is a method of generalship that should never be repeated, idolized, or sought after. But it is effective. General Custer was an incredibly effective, if brash, military leader. He won many battles that they did not think could be won. He was very smart. He was very strategic minded and knew how to win fights. He was, over the course of his career, very successful. So the idea that when we think of Custer, we think of an arrogant idiot who got all his men killed, is based solely on the fact that he was defeated, that he lost in a spectacular fashion. That's all we remember. Now, I don't like Custer. As I said, I don't like Custer because his type of generalship, his type of leading, had absolutely no regard whatsoever for the lives of the men under his command. He employed tactics that would... he'd sacrifice 100 men to take out 200 of the enemies. And that's a horrible way of being a general. Now, sometimes it's unavoidable, sure. I mean, every student of war knows, yeah, sometimes you've got to make sacrifices like that. But he wouldn't look for alternatives. That's just how he did it. He didn't care about the lives of his troops. To him, troops were simply a resource. It was a numbers game, like Crusader Kings. I've got 2,000, they've got 3,000. How can I best use my 2,000 to beat the 3,000? And if it costs 1,000 of my men, hey, I still got 1,000 left, right? That's the way he viewed generalship. He did not give one iota about the individual soldiers under his command and would commit them to tactics that were had very high casualty rates, all in the name of victory. He would, even at the sake of his pride, he would, where a better, in my opinion, a better general would have retreated to save the lives of his men, Custer would push forward for victory, and victory at the cost of way too high a number. But he didn't care, because that's all it was to him, was a number. So yes, he was incredibly successful. He won a lot of battles. And it's impossible to deny that he was a military, I'll even say it, a military genius. He was really, really smart when it came to how to fight a war. But man, would I not call him a moral character. And man, do I hate people who general like he does. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The point I was making is most people don't know that. Most people know nothing about that. I'm sure a lot of you, not all of you, because a lot of you are history buffs like me, but a lot of you are sitting there going, I never knew that about Custer. Well, of course you didn't, because all anyone ever remembers is Wounded Knee. Was it Wounded Knee? I'm going to feel really dumb if I've been calling it Wounded Knee and it wasn't. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. He got all his men killed by Indians because he thought he could take them. And, yeah, well, surprise! He couldn't. So, yeah. Yep. Where was I? Oh no, I think that was it. That was it. I was there. I was there. That's where I was. And now I'm done. Okay, well, hey. Yeah, so that's it for today. Rather long episode. But I will see you guys later. Ta-ta.